Hey, here we are. We're just hanging out, waiting for Joe to come on. My name is Barb Dunn, and this is my partner, Nikki Sasser.
Hi, glad to be here. Happy to be on here with Joe.
So Nikki and I are partnering up to do transactional funding, and that's the purpose for this podcast. We want to learn more about it, and so by having guests who are experts in this field, we thought we could gain a lot of insight and help all of you who are interested in transactional funding to figure out how do you do it. We've done a little bit of lending, and Mickey has more experience than I have with actual deals. I've only done a handful. I don't know how many you've done, probably a lot more. Um, so,
Oh,
here's Joe.
good.
Hey guys,
Hey,
Hello.
welcome.
how are you doing? Hi Barb.
Hi, Joe. We haven't met. My
No,
name's
we
Barb
haven't.
Dunn.
So it's the first time. So nice meeting you.
Yeah, yeah, thanks for joining us.
So
And
thank you for
gosh,
having me.
yeah, Nikki's told me a little bit about you, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about yourself. Um, about me, I don't know how much she shared, but I've owned properties for over 30 years now, Vermont and Colorado and here in Idaho. And I didn't do anything with real estate for a long time. And then I sold a property and had a bunch of capital, and that got me into lending. And from there, I joined Sub 2, joined Gator, and an owners club. And now my Everest is to house 50 people in each state in the next 4 years.
Wow, pretty awesome. So that's your Mount Everest, huh?
Yeah.
Well, good, cool, nice, nice.
Joe, you know me, but I can introduce this for the audience. But I specialize in capital raising and in EMD and anything under the transactional umbrella, double closing, uh, anything that's owner seller carry back. And that's what I do. I used to deliver babies before this, and I'm excited to get on this Zoom or on this podcast. I'm used to doing Zooms and to get to know you better. So we're just grateful and you are here with us today. Thanks for being with
Thank you
us.
so much. I feel honored and happy to be here.
Grateful. So, why don't you go ahead, Joe, and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from,
Sure.
and and a little bit more, like going deep, like about your family and things like that.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Well, Barb and Nikki, thanks for having me. My name is Joe Samudio. I'm from Houston, Texas, Lone Star State. I am also married. I have a beautiful wife. I have two grown kids. I have two grandkids. That keeps us pretty busy. As a matter of fact, I just had my grandkids. They spent the night. My little grandson spent the night over the weekend, so we had him over the weekend, and he's always a handful because he loves to do things and he's always trying to do new things, explore. So we love that. And so it keeps us busy for sure. Uh, and I also work a W-2. I'm an engineer, pipe engineer by trade here in Houston for a large global chemical company. And been doing that for most of my career. And up until about maybe 2 years ago, I started looking at other ways to create income through real estate, and that was one of the things I was actually focusing on. So I went onto YouTube, started looking at different podcasts, different people in the industry. I started listening first to Jerry Norton. Then I saw he had I don't know how many day podcast or interview with Pace Morby. It was a very, very long one. Gave a lot of great information, things that I didn't know, like novations and things like that. So what is that? So it started getting me interested in learning how to negotiate, how to get into real estate. And so then I joined the Gator community through Pace's Sub 2 community. And then later, about 6 months later, into that, I went ahead and joined a Gator. So I am a transactional lender. Um, so it's been a journey. It's been quite a journey. It's been a great learning experience. Got to meet a ton of people in the community. Everyone's so helpful. I feel like I've struck chords and made lots of friends, like
Yes.
you guys. and it has been really, really helpful for me because when I get stuck on something or have a question, it's very easy to go ask a question to one of the community members, and they're there to help you out, right? So
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited to be part of the community, and my goal is to help as many wholesalers and investors to help them scale their business and using transactional funding.
Mm, nice. Yeah, isn't it fascinating? I feel that too, that if I have a question about something, I know I can probably get the answer by the end of the day,
Oh,
right?
absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's just so freeing not to get stuck on, oh, I don't know, I don't know this, I don't know that. Well, that's
Well,
not an excuse anymore.
absolutely, and that's one of the great things I love about, connecting with people like yourselves because, nobody knows everything, right? And there's always something that's happening or a new technique or a new strategy that people are implementing or having success with, and people are happy to share that information. And, yes, you could probably look online or look on YouTube or go on to Google or ChatGPT to try to find the answers, but having somebody who's already done it and also to explain it and maybe walk you through the process is so much more valuable.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that, Joe. Thank you. That was very impactful. I love that you have so your grandchildren, I want to ask you this, boy and girl or just grandsons? I
I have 2 beautiful grandsons. One is 17.
Grandsons. Oh,
Yes, one is 17. He's about to graduate and go off to college. I think he's looking at going to LSU. He's been accepted that's where he wants to go. My other grandson is 10, so there is like a little bit of an age gap.
Mm,
But he's growing so fast. Um, he's probably going to be maybe 6'3", 6'5",
mm,
something like that. So he's going to surpass his dad. His dad's 6 foot, but everything looked like he's just going to pass him up. So
mm.
he is just growing by leaps and bounds. Keeps us busy. Keeps his mom busy, and for sure. And but we love our grandkids.
oh, they're life-changing, aren't they? Just, they're
Yes.
just a ball of light, just so fun to be around. I wanna ask a
Absolutely.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. I'm gonna let Barb ask a question here, but I have a question
Yeah.
for you. Tell us a little bit more, and our audience, a little bit more about your W-2 job that takes you globally. Is that what I heard correctly? Is it
Yes.
you go globally? Tell us a little bit more about that and what it entails.
Yeah, the company that I work for is a global company, so they're based actually out of Germany, but we have offices all around the world, from China, from Germany to Spain to Mexico to Canada to India. There's probably a couple of others that I'm I'm leaving out, but it's helped me to travel the world. Um, Actually, it was the very first time I've been to Taipei, been to
Mm,
Sh Shanghai and Chengdu twice.
Mm.
Yeah, I've been to India twice. In my last stint here, um, as a layover coming back, I decided to take a little bit of vacation. Uh, and so I spent about 3 days in Dubai. And
mm,
so that was a fantastic trip, a trip of a lifetime. I probably may go back one more time if they allow me, maybe probably September of this year. Then if I'm allowed to go back, that may I may do that again, but maybe take my family or maybe my wife with me this time. So
mm,
that right there has allowed me to travel the world. I didn't foresee that in my future, but because of the projects that we're on, we do a lot of work share with these countries. And so we're also collaborating and helping build these offices in these countries. And so that's why they send me over there to kind of help strategize, help produce, help maintain, help keep people on track. And so with my W-2, it's allowed me to do that. So I'm very, very fortunate that I was able to take these trips and the experiences that one takes because of the different cultures, Obviously, it's a different time zone because you're traveling halfway around the world. So when it's morning here, it's nighttime over there, and vice versa. And so it's really been a really great experience. I've
Mm.
spent some holidays over there. The last one we were there for Holy. It's called HOLI there, and we did have something there at the hotel, and it was really more of a party than anything else. But low key, low key, not crazy, but
Mm.
it was great. It was amazing, and I'll never forget it.
Mm.
Thank
Wow.
you for sharing that. I wanna just elaborate a little bit on that as well. First of all, you said you are extremely fortunate. I believe you are too, because that is a great experience for you to be able to travel all over the world. Not only that, I feel like um, you are W-2'd and you're doing all of this, and yet you're also focused in on, your real estate world, which is giving hope to other people that have W-2s as well. So thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that. Barb, I'm going to let you ask the next question. So thank you, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. And when we got into real estate back, years ago, I was a school teacher, and so we were able to not be on the school schedule anymore. So we took our kids out of school and homeschooled them and traveled all over the world. We went to Europe, New Zealand, and traveling is the best gift. So I encourage you to take the whole family, take those grandkids, show
Yes,
them what you see.
yes.
I mean,
Oh,
that's the big,
yes.
that's what a lesson. I mean, it just opens up their world. But we probably should, or we could talk about this. We probably- I'm curious of what exactly transactions you do focus on. Is it strictly EMD, or is it double closes, or what do you enjoy doing the most?
I'll be honest with you. I've done a couple of EMDs. My first EMD was pretty simple. It was for $3,000. And the paperwork was because it was my first one, so I kind of fumbled along a little bit. But then I asked for help. Right, going back to the communities, like, hey,
Mhm.
I'm kind of stuck on this. Do I have the right purchase agreement or the right agreement, and how do I make sure that I get the information to the title company? How do I introduce myself to the title company and make sure that I am protected, right? Because that's the number one thing, right? The number one thing in any lending is to make sure that your funds are protected. So that was my first one. So I kind of fumbled along through it. I didn't lose any money. So I did get my EMD back plus my fee, which was great experience. And it's like, yes, I can do this, right? My second one was a little bit more, was 5K, not that much more, but a little bit more. And that one went a little bit easier because I already knew the individual, I already knew the wholesaler. So we had already built and established a relationship. So the communication was much more simpler, much more easier. I already knew what the paperwork entailed, so I didn't wasn't fumbling. And we just I was able to help him to help lock up the deal so that he can position himself as like, hey, an actual bona fide wholesaler instead of putting down $20 or $100, right? We were able to put down $5,000, which really spoke volume to the seller because it's like, hey, this guy's really committed to the process. He's going to buy my house. He's serious about it. We have the EMD. It's already with the title company, and it made that whole process much more simpler. So the seller, was able to sell this house. The wholesaler was able to buy it and then assign it. So everyone, basically had a win-win situation. We are getting a lot more. I have not done a double close. I I almost did, but things didn't work out. But I think that double closing to me is a little bit more simpler, only because of the fact that it's a one-day close. It's a simultaneous closing, right? So you have an A to B contract, which is basically the wholesaler and the seller of the property, which they have a contract, and then immediately once that's done, you also have the wholesaler and the end buyer. So you have the B2C contract, right? So that's an automatic closing. It doesn't take days. It's very simple as long as the end buyer has their funds at the title escrow first.
Mm.
Without that, then really there's nothing we can do. There's no purpose of sending anything to the title company. There's no sense of getting wire instructions to anyone. That process is much simpler once the wholesaler has an in buyer in place and their funds are with the title company. Then everything goes much smoothly. So
Mm.
I think for me, the double closing, I love the double closing. I love the strategy. I think that right now, as laws are changing in our country, things are changing politically, laws are changing. I know that there are some states now that require for wholesalers, if they are wholesaling, to disclose that in their contract, to let
Mm.
them the seller know that, hey, I am a wholesaler and I will be assigning this to an end buyer. That might kill a deal, may or may not, depending on the situation or how motivated the seller is. There are some states that require a wholesaler if they are going to wholesale, that they're requiring the wholesaler to be a licensed real estate, but then they can only do one or two wholesale transactions. So the workaround for that is really a double close,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So I see that that might be a trend as it continues to go because we don't know what other states. There are several states now that are entertaining this, like, hey, we don't want this predatory type lending or predatory situation with taking advantage of the whole of the home buyer or the seller of the house. And so I
Mhm.
think that if that trend continues to go, I think the trend for double closing would could be on the rise. And that's just my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, so let me disclaimer here. I'm not giving any type of legal advice, anything like that. So I think that's kind of where I see it going, and the double closing just gives uh, everyone a little bit easier peace of mind because the wholesaler with the actual seller, he doesn't have to disclose whether or not he's actually assigning or not. He's acting as the end buyer, and then he resells it for a higher price to the end buyer on the BDC contract.
Mm.
So everyone, it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, the transaction just seems a little bit more transparent. Everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, Joe, that you what I love something that you shared too is that that you haven't done it yet, but you have that passion to go and do it. And so we want to have you back on and I want to hear about your
Yeah.
first double close. And when you get that, you text me because I want to know when we can have you back on to share your story
Right.
about
Absolutely.
because I think
Well,
Absolutely.
it's so empowering to others because some of us are kind of stuck in a rut, so to speak, and we're not sure what lane we want to be in. Or maybe we want to be in that lane, but we haven't experienced it yet. So when you go to do that and you experience that, I'll use the word magnificent feeling to be able to fulfill that
mm,
goal of yours. And I want you to be able to share with others because that empowers others to see that they can do other things as well.
yeah.
So, Barb, do you have another question you want me to
Yeah.
kind of
Um,
just we're really low key here.
I know. Um, so when you structure your contact tracks, how do you minimize the risk? What do you have built in to make sure that um, everyone wins as opposed
Well,
to.
for us is like I said a minute ago, it's about protecting our funds, right? So there is risk in everything that we do, right? But if you can mitigate that risk, then I think you feel a little bit more comfortable. So for us, we try to mitigate the risk by concentrating on what we call like having escrow protection, right? So having the right contracts and the right verbiage in your contracts is really important. So I have two things. I have like a verbiage for a purchase sales agreement that stipulates that, if something happens, that we can get our EMD money back, right? So we'll either can do it by inserting the verbiage in a contract, or the other ways we can add as an addendum, right? So that's one thing. The second thing that we do to protect ourselves is that we have now, with our lawyers, we've created a disbursement agreement between
Mm.
ourselves and the title company. Meaning it's an irrevocable agreement saying that if something happens, that the seller is in agreement that they will go ahead and release our EMD if something fails through. Now, there are some states that where either the title company or the closing attorney have to actually sign. But in the state of Texas, there is, and I can't remember the legal term for it, but they don't have to sign, they just have to stamp it. And
Mm.
so and that's something that will kind of hold up in court. And so that's something that, as a matter of fact, one of the notaries that I was talking to at the title company says, "Yeah, we don't sign them anymore. We stamp them." I said, "Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So that's good to know." So that's kind of how we protect our funds, is having the verbiage and the right agreements and contracts in
Mhm.
place, not just with
So,
a mutual release contract, so that the buyer and seller know that if something goes wrong, hey, we're going to get our money back. And then we'll also have a contract with the title company as a disbursement agreement saying if something goes wrong, that we are going to get our EMD money back.
nice.
Awesome.
So would you say that you just formulating these contracts, did you go off of Pace's original contracts and build
We
on top
went
of
we
those?
went off
Or
of originally we did, but then we just decided to go ahead and make our own contracts.
nice, good.
So we spent the money with an actual attorney to
Mhm.
help us formulate that and make sure that the legal jargon, again, I'm not going to give any legal advice, but the legal jargon is in there so that it's very, very clear and there's no room for misinterpretation.
Nice. Wow,
Nice.
that's great.
So you kind of mentioned as well, like escrow protected and other things that were really important to you in your transaction. But in the deals in the transaction you have done, what are some of the lessons that you have learned in transactional funding so far?
Mm.
Well, the very first thing is making sure that you have a title company that's investor friendly,
Yeah,
Very
right?
true, right? So true.
Yes, I mean that
I,
that is
oh,
so true, and not all title companies are created equal, right? There are some escrow officers that are new to the industry, and so they are also learning as well. And so you may find it's like, well, no, I think you can do this, and then they go find and they go talk to their supervisors. Oh, yes, yes, I was, incorrect. Yes, we can do this, or we can't, right? So not all title companies are created equal. So having a good investor friendly title company is so important, and making sure that they're okay with making sure that they are in agreement with your contract with them. Those are really the key things, because without that, then if something goes wrong, you have a hard time getting your EMD back. And then you may be forced to, like, hey, you know, you breached our contract. Now we're going to have to go through the legal system and try to get our money back. And, it can be a legal mess. And so that right there, I think that's the number one thing for me, is making sure that you have a good title company, and of course, vetting the title company. I've heard horror stories about title companies that supposedly are real, but they're scams. They're not real title companies. And
mhm.
so I feel for those individuals. So making sure that the title company is legit title company is also so important in your due diligence.
Yeah. Well, we've both witnessed or asked for folks boots on the ground, other community members, say, hey, here's the address of this title company. Would you just take a flyby and see if there's actually, someone at the front desk, or is it a real, address? Yeah. And willing to pay people to do that for us if need be. Yeah.
Barb is speaking truth. So, and Joe, one thing I want to add to that is that recently I had a deal that was sent to me, and was not
Oh, yeah.
title was legit, but the information that they gave for the people that worked at title were not who they said they were. So in other words, they changed the first name of an individual. They kept the last name, but changed the first name on that title. And they also changed the one number on the end of a phone number. So I think for those who are starting out, be cautious, right? And Joe, you
Yes,
have great information. Vet those title companies. Make sure that they are who they are and who is working there, right? Um,
exactly.
but yeah, it's so scary out there. You have to be so cautious at times for especially
Well,
anybody you're working with.
and aren't
Yes.
we so fortunate to be in a community where PACE is trying to solve that issue as well? You know, having uniform title company protocol or policy across the nation is just huge. So everybody, you
Absolutely.
know, it's predictable and everybody understands the transactions. And it's, I mean, your invitation today, I spent all day with the title company trying to get my payout. And it's like, what, you need what now? You need,
It's like a circus.
and we figured
It
it
can
out.
be.
We worked together, we figured it out, and it was all good. And you know, but I found myself constantly like trying to, you know, suppress. We
Yes,
should
it
have
it
talked.
it can be a little hairy. Uh,
Yeah,
thank Thankfully, haven't gone through this. I probably will at some point in time, but I'm pretty cautious to making sure whoever I'm working with that we go through the steps because we have a process, right? And so
yeah,
the process is really simple, but we have to stick with that process and not waver from it because otherwise, then yes, I want to fund this deal and I want to help this person out, but at the end of the day, we have to protect our investment, right? So,
mm,
and that's kind of how I look at it, right?
right. Yeah, good relationship with the title
Yeah,
company. Yeah.
very, very
So
true.
here
Absolutely.
we are. We're going over our 20 minutes, so we have a couple more minutes. Is there something you'd like to add in that we skipped over that you feel is really important that people should know about yourself or about lending? And
Um, for myself, I'm here to grow. I'm here to learn. I'm here to help as many wholesalers and investors that either have deals that they want EMD funding for or for double closing. Now, I will tell you for double closing, we will look at situations where not only for single family houses, but for multifamily, for condominiums,
mm,
for lots, and for land. And we'll take and consider those also for double closing.
That's
oh,
awesome. So
well, I
being said, Joe, how can people get a hold of you? What is the best way to get a hold of you? If somebody's reaching out to you, what is going to be their best way to reach you?
The best way to reach me is via email. And let me give that to you. And that's JL, my last name, SAMUDIO 01 at gmail.com. So JL Samudio 01 at gmail.com.
Awesome. I have one final question for you that we did not submit to you, but I know you'll know this question. Where do you see the future of your personal business?
mm,
Like this that you've started with Gator, like where do you see yourself? Like maybe in 5 years?
In 5 years, my goal right now is to position myself as an industry expert. In 5 years, I hope that's where I'll be. The more I do this, the more I'll help people. I think, and being on podcasts like your wonderful show here,
mm,
will only help propel me and my trajectory upwards. And so I want to help as many people that I possibly can, not just wholesalers and investors, but other potential gators, if you will, or other people that in the community, because I want to also get back. There's
mm,
been so many people that have answered and helped
yeah,
me in my growth that I also want to do that as well, right? Because the more people you help, then you're just only helping yourself. And
Right.
the more people that I can help, it's going to create a win-win situation for everyone.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we signed up for when we joined all these different programs with PACE. That's what you have to do is give back.
And
That's
that
right.
and
It's not
Barb,
hard.
yeah, exactly. And that passion that we all have, and Joe, that you have, that transforms lives. The willingness to help others up the ladder, right, or to help them alongside you. That is when it transforms lives and helps us to become a little better, or a little more, like my mother used to say, a little more sharpened like a saw, right? Just sharpening our saw. And 'cause sometimes our saw is a little bit jagged, right? But to sharpen that saw and help people up the ladder beside us. You're amazing, Joe. We appreciate you so much.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Nikki. Thank you so much, Barb. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me as a guest. And I wish nothing but success for both of you as you continue into your journey down this real
Yeah.
estate path.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we'll be in touch. I hope we can work and do some deals together. That'd be great.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Joe, again for joining our podcast today. We appreciate
Yeah.
you so very much. Have a
Okay.
glorious day.
Thank you.
Reach out to Joe.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.